butterfly in the wind. The first time Elara saw him, he was perched precariously on the edge of the old stone fountain in the town square, a sketch pad resting on his knees. He had hair the color of midnight and eyes that seemed to hold all the quiet corners of the world. She, Elara, was a creature of constant motion, a butterfly in the wind, drawn by every shift in the breeze, every new scent. Her life was a series of spontaneous decisions, each one leading her to another uncharted moment. He, Elias, was an anchor, a root system, finding beauty in the still observation of life. Their initial encounter was, predictably, a collision. Elara, distracted by a particularly vibrant street musician, practically ran into him, sending his pencils scattering like startled birds. "Oh, my heavens, I'm so sorry," she exclaimed, her voice a whirlwind of apology. She knelt, gathering his tools, her movements quick and graceful. He smiled, a slow, gentle unfolding. "No harm done. Just a brief rearranging of my universe." His voice was calm, a balm to her usual hurried pace. Their eyes met, and in that instant, Elara felt a peculiar stillness settle over her. It was a sensation she rarely experienced, as if the relentless wind that usually propelled her had momentarily ceased to blow. He looked at her not with judgment for her clumsiness, but with a quiet curiosity, as if she were a new species of bloom he'd never encountered. Their story unfolded slowly, like a time-lapse of a blossom opening. Elias, an artist who found solace in capturing the intricate details of everyday life, was fascinated by Elara's constant flux. She, in turn, was drawn to his profound stillness, his ability to root himself in the present moment. He taught her to observe, to see the intricate patterns on a leaf, the subtle shifts in light on an old building. She, without trying, injected his quiet life with a vibrant, unpredictable energy. "You're like a butterfly, Elara," he'd say, watching her flit from one idea to the next, one passion to another. "Beautiful, free-spirited, carried by the slightest current. And you," she'd retort, gently touching his hand as he sketched, "are the solid ground it lands on, if only for a moment." Their love was a delicate balance of opposites. He offered her a quiet harbor. She offered him the exhilarating vastness of the open sea. They understood that their natures were inherently different, yet those differences were what made their connection so profound. They didn't try to change each other. Instead, they marveled at the beauty of their contrasting forms. Their shared moments were precious, often punctuated by sudden departures and unexpected returns on Elara's part. He never questioned her need to roam, and she always found her way back to his steady presence. "Doesn't it ever bother you?" Elara once asked, her voice tinged with rare introspection, as they sat on a hillside watching kites dance in the wind. "My constant moving? My never quite settling?" Elias turned to her, his gaze unwavering. "A butterfly is meant to fly, Elara. To try to clip its wings would be to destroy its very essence. I find joy in watching you soar, in knowing that for a time you choose to rest here with me. But even butterflies carried by the wind eventually encounter storms. Life, with its unpredictable currents, began to pull them in different directions." Elias received an opportunity for a prestigious art residency in a distant country, a chance that would solidify his career. Elara, true to her nature, felt the familiar stirrings of wanderlust, an insatiable urge to explore a new continent, to follow a beckoning whisper she couldn't quite articulate. The conversations became tinged with an unspoken sadness. The lightness that had always characterized their love began to feel heavy, burdened by the looming prospect of a prolonged separation. They weren't breaking up. Their love was too deep, too essential for that. But the geographical distance felt like an immense, uncrossable chasm. "How do we do this, Elias?" Elara whispered one evening, her hand tracing the lines of his latest drawing, a delicate sketch of a butterfly taking flight. "How do two people so fundamentally different in their paths stay connected?" He looked at the drawing, then at her, his eyes filled with a familiar longing. "The wind may carry you far, my love, but the connection of our souls, that's not something a mere breeze can break. We are bound by more than proximity." The day of Elias's departure was not a tearful goodbye, but a quiet reaffirmation. They stood at the airport gate, a place of constant movement, a fitting backdrop for their farewell. He held her hands, his grip firm, grounding her. Go, Ilara, he said, his voice husky. Chase the wind. Experience everything. Just know that wherever you are, a part of me will be with you, waiting for your return. And you, Elias, she replied, her voice steady despite the ache in her chest. Paint the world. Capture its beauty. I'll be your unseen muse, flying through the landscapes you create. As he walked towards the boarding gate, Ilara watched him, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. Then, as if on cue, a monarch butterfly, somehow having found its way into the sterile airport concourse, fluttered past her, then out of sight. A sign, she thought, a whisper of hope, a reminder of the unseen forces that connect them. Years turned into a tapestry of letters, emails, and occasional precious video calls. Elias's art flourished, his canvases speaking of quiet contemplation and profound human connection. Ilara's travels led her to remote villages, bustling cities, and untouched wildernesses, each experience adding a new hue to her vibrant spirit. They lived separate lives, yet their souls remained intricately linked. They spoke of butterflies they'd seen, of the moon they both gazed upon, of the silent understanding that transcended miles. One spring afternoon, many years later, Ilara found herself drawn back to the old town square, to the same stone fountain where they first met. She felt a familiar pull, a gentle whisper on the wind, a sense of an ending and a beginning. She sat on the edge of the fountain, just as he had, and pulled out her small travel journal, sketching a familiar scene, a lone butterfly, soaring against an endless sky. A shadow fell over her page. She looked up, and there he was, his hair now streaked with silver, his eyes still holding the quiet depths she remembered. He held a small, worn sketch pad. "Still sketching butterflies, Ilara?" he asked, his voice a comforting melody she hadn't realized she'd missed so desperately. Tears welled in her eyes, tears of absolute joy, of recognition, of a journey come full circle. "And you, Elias? Still drawing the stillness in a world of motion?" He sat beside her, and for the first time in a very long time, Ilara felt the wind cease to blow, not just around her, but within her. She had flown freely and fully, carried by every current. But now she had found her anchor, not a tether that held her back, but a soft, steady landing place. He had waited, patiently, observing the world, knowing that her path, no matter how winding, would eventually lead her back to him. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the nearby trees, and a lone, vibrant butterfly fluttered past, seemingly pausing for a moment, before continuing on its way. It was a silent testament to their enduring love, a love that had allowed both to fly, to be themselves, and to find their way back to each other, like a butterfly always returning to its true north in the wind. What do you think of this story? Did it capture the essence of a butterfly in the wind for you?